What if the most terrifying dragon you ever faced wasn't a dragon at all? Imagine a colossus stitched together from hundreds of mimics, door-like disguises functioning as wings, tongues lashing from cracks between its scales, and eyes blinking from every angle. That's not just a monster. That's a mimic dragon, a nightmare of hunger, instinct, and deception, and a creature that has gone beyond a normal mimic's instinctual ambush predation to become a terrifying active hunter. Welcome back to Brewer's Bastion, your weekly stop for homebrew monsters, subclasses, and all things D&D. Today, we're diving into one of the most grotesque, unsettling creations I've ever built, the Mimic Dragon. We'll cover its lore, abilities, and how you can unleash this monstrosity in your own campaign. Let's get started. The Mimic Dragon isn't born, it's assembled. In times of famine, when mimics can't lure enough prey, desperation drives them to swarm together. The result? A towering illusion of unity. A dragon-shaped mass, every part a hungry mimic, fighting to hold its place in the whole. From a distance, it looks like a dragon. Up close, door frames splitting into teeth, tongues writhing between scales, and walls warping from wood, stone, to flesh. Survivors say its voice isn't a roar, it's the sound of 1,000 hungers, all clamoring for your flesh. Unlike true dragons, this beast doesn't scheme, it doesn't hoard gold, it has one instinct, and one instinct only: to feed. Entire caravans, fortresses, even villages have been swept away by these things before the swarm finally scatters to slumber. And when it hides, it doesn't perch on treasure hoards, it becomes treasure hoards. A ruined farmhouse, a rocky outcropping, even a quiet hillside, all masks for the beast beneath. So, how does the mimic dragon actually fight at the table? Let's break down a few of its unique abilities. First, amalgamated swarm. This dragon isn't a single creature, it's hundreds of mimics. As you whittle away at its health, it weakens. Half HP, it loses flight. Quarter HP, its speed slows down, and its damage is halved. It literally falls apart as you fight it, making it an exceptional way for your players to see what they are doing in combat count, even while the combat is still going. It has an adhesive form and pseudopod lash abilities. Classic mimic stickiness, but on a gargantuan scale. Strike it in melee, and your weapon, or worse, your arm, gets stuck. Enter its space, and pseudopods lash out, trying to glue you down and sticking you to the dragon itself. It has a swarm breath ability. Forget about fire or lightning, this dragon vomits mimics. A 60-foot cone of snapping maws floods the battlefield. The expelled swarm makes terrain difficult and acidic, and the dragon can reabsorb them later to heal itself. Terrifying. Then, of course, it has legendary actions. It has some of your standard draconic legendary actions, like a wing beat or movement option, but the real danger is in its death roll, in which it rolls its immense bulk across the ground, dealing massive, unavoidable damage to creatures that are stuck to its body. Altogether, this is a CR 18 monster, a capstone threat meant to rival even true adult dragons. But unlike a red or a gold dragon, this one doesn't negotiate. It can't be bribed, buttered up, or baited. It doesn't think, it doesn't plan, it does not consider. It just feeds. So, how should you use the Mimic Dragon in your campaign? Here's a few ideas, but I'm sure you can come up with plenty on your own. First, a false dragon arc. Your players hear rumors of a dragon terrorizing the countryside, but when they finally confront it, they discover it's no true dragon at all. That twist alone is worth the reveal. Second, Siege Beast. Drop the dragon into a major battle. Imagine a kingdom rallying to fight what they think is a dragon, only for the beast to disgorge mimics across the battlefield. Instant chaos. Or perhaps the dragon can take on the role of more of an environmental horror. Let the dragon hide in plain sight. Perhaps the players camp on a rocky hillside that suddenly shifts, rising beneath them as the dragon reveals itself, and your players already have their feet firmly stuck to its adhesive skin. The key with this monster is to lean into its alien horror. It's not a creature of intellect, but a horror that is driven by nothing but hunger. Play up the unsettling noises, the shifting shapes, the countless eyes watching your players. Make it feel alive, unstable, and inevitable. Consider adding thematic elements that aren't in the stat block. Perhaps if it hits with a bite attack, it will shift and reform its head on the opposite side, pulling the bitten creature through its body and depositing them on the opposite end, away from their allies' assistance. Perhaps as your party deals massive damage, you could have a few mimics drop off of the dragon, unable to retain their connection to the beast, but still threatening the party nonetheless. And what happens when it's defeated? Do all the mimics break apart, dying separately? Does it stay together as a single mass? And if the entire mass is dead, is the same true for the mimics that made it up? Or are they just no longer capable of controlling the large scale amalgamation? Is it a victory over the dragon? Or is it just a midpoint in a secondary battle with dozens of mimics that managed to survive? So, there you have it, the Mimic Dragon, a monster that takes one of D&D's most beloved horrors and scales it up to apex predator. If you'd like a full stat block in a polished PDF, join the Bastion on Patreon, where all of my weekly homebrews are available. As a special treat, I've also included a fully playable Mimic race with this week's content, courtesy of my clients on Fiverr. Thanks for letting me share your ideas with the world. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, drop a comment on how you'd use the Mimic Dragon in your game, and subscribe so you don't miss next week's monster. Until next time, may your wit be as sharp as your sword.